All right, welcome to this video. I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to say that you are closer than you think to your next level breakthrough. Like, you are closer than you think to your dream life. You're closer than you think to your dream income. You're closer than you think to your dream relationship. You are closer than you think you are. In fact, you're 1 to 3 steps away. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 wealth secrets for 2026. And how you can, like, if you wait till 2026 to start getting ready for 2026, you're already behind the curve, right? You need to start right now. I don't mean start right now this week. I mean start right now this day. Like, as soon as we're done here, like, jump in the deep end of the pool. Because there was a time, I want you to think about what I'm about to say. There was a time when Bill Gates was 1 step away from Microsoft. I'll come back to that. There was a time Sam Walton was 1 step away from Walmart. Colonel Sanders was 1 step away from Kentucky Fried Chicken. There was a day when Mark Zuckerberg was 1 step away from Facebook. Elon Musk was 1 step away from Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, Starlink, Marslink, Link, whatever other links he's got. There was a time he was 1 step away. Here's my question for you. What if you really believed that you were only 1 step away? 2 steps away, 3 steps away. What if you really believed that with every fiber of your being? How would that affect your day-to-day life from now on? I'm gonna how would that affect if you really believed that you were 1 step away? See, Bill Gates believed that he was 1 step away from Microsoft so much that when he discovered what was then known as the down and dirty disk operating system that somebody else had invented, he offered to buy it from that person and sell it to no one, and he refused to sell it to anyone. I want you to think about that. He offered to buy it. He said, "How much do you want for this software?" The guy said $50,000. What if you saw something that you could use to change the world? And I get it, Bill Gates is not the most wonderful person in the world. That's not what this conversation is about. It doesn't matter. Then if you feel like you're the most wonderful, or at least more wonderful than Bill Gates, why don't you care more about your stuff than he cared about his? Which is a great question, I think. And so, he asked the person how much they wanted for the software. The person said $50,000. Bill Gates didn't have $50,000. But the difference between him and many of you is he didn't let that stop him. And he didn't borrow the money. See, Bill Gates went into the laboratory of his creativity and created a way to come up with $50,000 back in the 70s. In the 70s, when $50,000 was like a whole lot more money than it is right now. And he said, if I can come up with this $50,000, I can change the world. But see, the reason he was able to go into the recesses of his laboratory of creativity and find an answer is because he believed in what this had the ability to do so much that it didn't matter what the obstacles were. He knew he was going to do it. So how do you come up with $50,000 if you don't have $50,000? Right? There are people who let $50,000 stop them today. $50,000. $50,000. You could, like, there are a lot of people watching this video right now who, if your daughter or your granddaughter or your son or your grandson's life was at stake and you had to come up with $50,000 today, you'd figure it out. Why? Because that would matter enough to you. Some of you, many of you, you could figure it out this week. But you're acting like that $50,000 or whatever the number is, it doesn't matter what the number is so big that it's bigger than you. $50,000 isn't bigger than anybody listening to me right now. And if you think it is, you don't understand who you are. And you don't understand whose image you're made in. Because I am here to let you know that $50,000 is peanuts. And it was peanuts for Bill Gates even though he didn't have it. How? Because Bill Gates had a friend. Do you know what that friend's name was? Paul Allen. Guess what Paul Allen had? $50,000. And Paul Allen not only had $50,000, but he believed in Bill Gates because he knew that Bill Gates, as one of his friends, pretty much wanted everything he did. And he said, if I take this $50,000 and put it into Bill Gates, it's going to be way more beneficial to me if I take this $50,000 and put it in a car. And so Bill Gates said to Paul Allen, I'm paraphrasing because I wasn't there for the conversation, because I was only 17 in 1978. But Bill Gates said to Paul Allen, he said, look, here's what I'm going to do. If you give me $50,000, notice what he didn't say, if you loan me $50,000. If you give me $50,000, I'm going to give you a small percentage of the company that I'm starting. Now, that small percentage of the company that Bill Gates started made Paul Allen so rich that he owned 3 sports teams at the same time. Bill Gates was only one step away. One step. Colonel Sanders knocked on 1,001 doors of restaurants and offered them his fried chicken recipe for a percentage of the increased sales. And 1,000 of them told him no. And the 1,001st person said, sure, I'll do that. Maybe their fried chicken wasn't that good. Maybe they just wanted to sell more fried chicken. I don't know, but they said yes. Because Colonel Sanders, when he got his first Social Security check, he said, this is not going to be how my life ends up. And I am telling you that you need to go, you need to figure out why you're here and go all in on that. And I'm going to show you 3 things that you could, 3 steps. Maybe you're a person who's going to have to take all 3 of these steps. I don't know. Maybe you are going to be one of those people who has to take one of these 3 steps. Maybe you've already taken the other 2. But regardless, if these 3 steps will change your life if you'll let them. Okay, I'm going to go over to my trusty digital blackboard, which is my security blanket. And it also makes my life easier as I'm teaching because it gives me everything here and I can draw. Is it okay, Joanne, will it still show up if I change the background to black? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to change the background to black because top right, 3 dots. I was just testing to see if you knew. So top right, 3 dots. Okay, let's see if you, okay. Clearly he knew. I couldn't fake him out. Okay, so, all right, so y'all probably remember. Before I tell you what the 3 things are, I'm going to remind you of something that I found in Genesis chapter 1, and that is the 4 levels of value, right? The 4 levels of value. All of the money that we receive in our lives, we receive in exchange for value from someone else. Now, you have to understand what makes something valuable, right? See, well, here's what some people think. Well, in order for it to be valuable, it needs to be worth the money. That is absolutely incorrect. If something is worth the money, it's not valuable. If something's worth the money, I might as well just keep the money. Like if I said to you, you give me $1, I give you $1, we both still just have $1. It only makes sense for me to give you money if the thing that I'm getting in exchange for the money is worth more to me than the money. And it only makes sense for you to give me the thing that's worth more than the money if I'm giving you the money because you value the money more than you value the thing. Like value for value exchange means I'm giving you something that your perspective causes you to value more than the thing that I'm giving you. But my perspective causes me to value the thing you're giving me more than the money I'm giving you. Are y'all tracking? Okay, so the 4 levels of value. There are 4 levels of value that we can trade for money in the marketplace. The lowest level of value is implementation. And implementation is a way of creating money where you are using your muscles over time in exchange for money. This is the lowest level of value. And I believe it's the lowest level of value because it's the least spiritual. That's why I believe that wealth is a spiritual outcome. Think about it. What is wealth? Wealth means that you have done the greatest work. Now, it may not be the most righteous work, but it's the greatest work. What does that mean? Jesus said, he who will be greatest among you, let him be servant of all. So the thing that makes you great is your ability to serve value to other people. And in exchange for that, they give you money. That's how it works, how life works. Your employer pays you because what you give to them is worth more than the money they have to pay you. Are y'all tracking? So you use your muscles over time. So that's the implementation level. The next level is the unification level. The unification level, and on that level, you use your management skills to make money. On this level, you might make, I don't know, somewhere between minimum wage and $80,000 a year. You make minimum wage if you're making tacos at Taco Bell. You might make $80,000 a year if you work in a body shop or in a repair shop for a high-end car dealership. Okay, unification, your management skills. On this level, you might make somewhere between, on the low end, you might make $60,000 if you're managing that Taco Bell. On the high end, you might be making $250,000 a year if you're a middle manager at Lockheed Martin. So you're using your management skills. Managing people is a higher spiritual activity than doing the thing yourself. Okay, the next level of value, this is the line across which wealth begins to be created. What is that? This is the communication level. And on the communication level, you use your mouth to make money. Language is something that only spiritual beings have. Only spiritual beings have language. God has language, he's spiritual. Angels have language. Demons have language. People have language. So communication is a spiritual attribute. Well, on this level, you might make, on the low end, $100,000 a year if you sell cars or insurance or real estate. On the high end, you might make $100 million a year if you're an A-list actor or you're a best-selling novelist or you write screenplays for blockbuster movies or you write hit songs. You might make $100 million a year, right? But you're communicating a message that moves the masses in some way, which also creates cash flow for you in some way. Does that make sense? And on the highest level of value is imagination. So, and on this level, you use your mind to make money. And on this level also, you might make anywhere from, like, on the low end, $1 million a year. And on the high end, it might be literally billions. So, the people who make the most money have the best ideas about how to serve the largest number of people. Did I say that too fast? The people who make the most money have the best ideas about how to serve the largest number of people. And so the reason you're stuck financially is because you're attempting to figure out how to get unstuck financially. That's not how you solve the problem. The way you solve the problem of being stuck financially is find a group of people that has a big problem and figure out a very elegant solution and let those people know you have it. Ta-da! And now you're in the right place at the right time. So this is the frame through which I want you to view these three things that I'm going to talk to you about with regard to how to take your life to the next level. So you're closer than you think. What is the first one? The first one is you have to change how your mind thinks. So you change how your mind thinks. What does that mean? Well, it means that you either see, what just happened to my marker? Which means you either see obstacles. It's not. That's okay. The board doesn't want you to get unstuck, but that's okay because I do. Obstacles, or do you see opportunities? Now, you think you see obstacles or opportunities because that's what's there. So I see obstacles because obstacles are there. Or you may think, I see opportunities because opportunities are there. No, they're both always there. But your mind, see, we think that we see with our eyes. But our eyes are just one of the things our mind uses to see. We actually see with our mind. And see, you're going to see the one you're the most tuned into. Are you tracking? And so what you have to do is you have to learn how to be tuned into a different frequency. So, like people, it's so fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me that negative people don't see themselves as negative. But guess what? Here's the amazing thing. They're the only ones who don't. Everyone else can see this person is clearly Glum from Gulliver's Travels. Gulliver will never make it. Okay, some of you are too young to know what I'm even talking about, but some people can find what's wrong with everything that's right, and other people find what's right with everything that's wrong. Here's my question. Which one are you? Because you don't see things the way they are. You see things the way you are. You have to change the way your mind thinks. And I've already told y'all a story many times. I'm not going to go into it again about Hagar, and she's out in the desert from Genesis chapter 21, and she's out in the desert, and Abraham gives her a bottle of water and a loaf of bread, and sends her and her probably 12, 13-year-old son out into the desert. And she runs out of water, and she puts her son under a bush for some shade, and then she goes over and starts crying about the fact that he's about to die. She didn't want to watch it. And then the angel comes and says, "What are you crying about, Hagar?" What kind of question is that? That does not sound like an angelic question. What you crying about? Hey, single mom in the middle of the desert with a child with no water. What you crying about? That does not sound angelic. Can I get a witness? Amen. But it was very angelic, because the question shows us that the problem was not the bottle that was empty or the child that was thirsty. The problem was that the mother was so focused on what was missing in the bottle, because it says, and God opened her eyes and she saw a well of water that was there, which means the well of water was already there. So here's my question for you. What if your well of water that you're thirsting for and have been thirsting for years is already there, but because you're so focused on obstacles, you can't see the opportunity? I like to say it like this. She couldn't see the well of water in front of her eyes because of the water that was welling up in her eyes. And are you so focused on what's missing in your life right now that you can't see what's there? You have to change how your mind thinks. You're either focusing on signal, you're one step away. Like, now, this person, oh, that was pretty cool. This person right here, either that person can take a step and fall, or that person can take a step and they'll be right there. This is the dream life they've been looking for their whole life. But guess what? They're unwilling. But what if that won't hold me? Well, it might not hold you. But what if this drop off is only like whatever that is right there, 2 inches? But it feels like more than that. It's all perspective. It's not all perspective, but it's largely perspective. How many of y'all ever noticed this? Most of the things that you've worried about most of your life never came to pass. So let's say you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, that you didn't have to worry about the thing that you were worried about. What could you have used all that wasted energy for? Are y'all tracking? And so you have to change how your mind thinks. So your mind either thinks in the form of because of who you are and how you are, you're filtering for either static or noise. Like your mind is tuned in to either static or it's tuned into signal. Which one are you tuned into? Signal or static? See, I want my mind to be tuned into signal, not static. What is signal? Okay, here's the best way for me to say it. You are always focused on something. Yeah. Everybody's focused on something. I have noticed that people who win at a very high level, the primary difference is we focus on intention and ignore distraction like it's a disease. But people who live on the struggle bus, they hyper-focus on distraction and ignore intention. Now, I'm not just going to say that. I'm going to define distraction. I'm going to define intention. Intention is anything that I focus on that moves the needle in my life in my favor. I'm going to label distraction as anything that I focus on in my life that doesn't move the needle in my life in my favor. It's like I was taught as a child, well, you want to make sure that you read the newspaper and watch the news because that way you can know what's going on in the world. How many of y'all were taught that? Anybody else taught that by your parents or any? No, nobody? Okay. I was taught that. You read the news. You read the newspaper, you watch the news. And then I realized that the news in the newspaper, the news on the news wasn't really news. It was just bad news. And so it gave me a lot of stuff to worry about, but nothing to work on. Can I get a witness? And so what happens is, so I was in, we didn't call them masterminds. I had this coach back in the day. He's like, some of you are so negative. I thought he was talking to other people. I thought he was talking about other people. Yeah, they are negative. Get them, Jerry. Right? And he says, yeah, some of y'all, because he used to always say, what's up, big money, Myron? I would say, no, I'm not the big money. You're the big money. He was talking about what he saw in me. I was talking about who I saw I was. I'm not the big money. I don't have money. I don't have big money. You have big money. And I was caught by example how to deflect compliments. So he says, some of y'all are so negative. Some of y'all are negative because all you do is you spend all this time watching the news. And all they're doing is programming you to focus on things you can't change. And waste a lot of energy worried about things you can't fix. Well, if I'm focused on things now, I don't watch the news. What do you mean you don't watch it? Don't watch it. Don't read it. Don't focus on it. But Myron, how will you know what's going on in the world? That's easy. You're surrounded by people who are just negative. They all always know, and they are looking for somebody to tell. It's not like you're going to find out that the world is coming to an end and your phone will start ringing. All the people who are paying attention to that. There are people who just listen to the news all day long on CNN, on constantly negative news, slides of Fox News, ABC, always been corrupt news. I don't care which one it is, they're all the same. I don't care which flavor or brand it is, they're all negative. They're filling your mind with problems you can't solve. But how will I know what's going on in the world? I have a better question than that. If you can't fix what's going on in your world, what are you going to do about the problems in the world? You can't even fix your own problems. So how's you knowing about all the terrible things that are going on around the world serving you to serve anybody? I don't know. Just doesn't seem like it's doing that to me. Okay. So Jerry says, some of y'all are negative because you watch the news. He says, some of y'all are negative, you can't even receive a compliment. I might say to you, hey, big money. And you say, no, I'm not the big money, you're the big money. I was like, oh, snap, that's me. I thought he was talking to them, now he's talking to me. And so guess what I stopped doing that day? I stopped deflecting positive comments into my life, and I started receiving them instead of deflecting them and rejecting them. Like, people can't even compliment you on your outfit. They say, oh, that is an amazing outfit. Oh, this old thing, I've had it for years. Instead of doing that, try this. It's a two-step formula. Y'all ready? Somebody gives you a compliment. Here's what you do. Smile and say, thank you. If you can't receive a compliment, how are you going to receive compensation? So, what you focus on? Are you focused on intention or are you focused on distraction? Are you focused on signal or static? What are you focused on? Signal. What's signal? Signal is something that gives you direction so that you know which way to go. You know what to do next. What is static? Static is anything that you pay attention to that causes you to end up having nothing to do and therefore doing nothing. Who do you follow? That's a really good question. Who are you following? So there are different kinds of people you can follow, right? Well, first of all, don't follow anybody who's going somewhere you don't want to end up. Or they already are somewhere you don't want to end up. Stop following those people. But also, I think there are three categories in general that people follow. People who are really, really good at talking and not that good at walking. What does that mean? That means they overpromise and underdeliver. Beware of people who overpromise and underdeliver, and every message is hype. This is the best one I've ever seen. This is the best one I've ever seen in my entire life. It's making people money every single solitary day. I am very apprehensive about people when I listen to messages from people who use phrases like every single solitary, and this is the best one I've seen ever. Bro, do you understand you said that about the last 17 things you talked to me about? People who say, to be honest, okay? So when you're not saying that, what are you being? It's a question. It's not a judgment. Or people who say, well, honestly, I was already assuming that until you said that. Now you've got me questioning. The things you say that are not prefaced with honestly, what are those? Dishonestly? I'm just telling you where my brain goes. Okay. So people who overpromise and underdeliver, by the way, there are a lot of those. Like you have to do your due diligence on people before you start doing business with them, and especially before you attach your brand to their brand, right? And so, do you follow people who overpromise and underdeliver, or do you promise people who underpromise and overdeliver? Some of y'all like those people. They underpromise and overdeliver. You like them some, but you don't like them enough to buy from them. So my recommendation is don't follow those people, because if you do follow them, you will become one. And here's the problem with people who underpromise and overdeliver. They very seldom get the opportunity to deliver because they underpromised. Are y'all tracking? Yeah. Instead, I would recommend that you follow and then become this kind of person. The kind of person who promises big but delivers even bigger. You know, my Make More Offers Challenge starts today at 10 o'clock. If you do not have a ticket for it by 11 o'clock, at 11:01, the opportunity to buy a ticket goes away. Right? So, and if you want, for those of you who are watching, you want to join my Make More Offers Challenge, as a VIP, it's $297. It's every day this week, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for people. And I'm not trying to sell tickets right now. The challenge already has, I don't know how many people, but 100 and something. So, but I'm telling you this because when that challenge goes, like at 11 o'clock, you won't be able to buy a ticket for this month. You'll have to wait till next month. Okay, now, here's why I told you that story. Because on my challenge, for people who buy a VIP ticket for $297, I tell them, when you buy this ticket for $297, I'm going to give you a 10 times better than money back guarantee. Which means what? Which means by the end of the challenge, if you don't believe you got 10 times the value of the money that you paid me, I'm going to remind you on Friday to get a refund, and we're still going to be friends. That's called promising big. So now people are paying me $297, and I've got to provide $2,970 worth of value. Do you understand how now all of the risk is on me to deliver on my promise? But it wasn't an under promise, it was an over promise. Like whoever said, if what I'm giving you is not worth 10 times what you don't feel like you got 10 times more than you paid for it, I'll give you, like who's ever said that before? I've never heard anybody say that before, right? And somebody wants a refund on Friday, I'm gonna trust that they're gonna forget that the challenge is gonna be so good, they're gonna forget that I gave them that refund offer. So you know what I'm gonna do right before the challenge ends, right before the VIP experience ends on Friday morning at 11 o'clock, I'm gonna remind them that if you don't believe this was worth 10 times what you paid for it, send us an email today and I'm going to send you your money back. No questions asked. Like, who does that? Well, people who promise big and deliver even bigger, right? I'm not worried about somebody wanting a refund. Why? Because I already know what I'm going to teach them. And I know I'm going to blow their minds, and they're going to learn things that they've never learned anywhere else in $5,000 and $10,000 courses they've bought. So, okay. So you change how your mind thinks. But the second thing is, by the way, that's how many of y'all can see that goes back to the imagination part of the 4 levels of value, right? So change how your mind thinks. Do you realize? I want everybody. I'm gonna prompt you, and then I want you to give me the first name that comes to your mind, but do it out loud so the people in studio. And if you're online, just type it in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna name something, and I'm gonna name a business. And when I do name the business, name the first person who comes to your mind. You ready? Apple Corporation. Everybody says Steve Jobs. Isn't that fascinating? Steve Jobs died in 2011. That was almost 15 years ago. Nobody says Tim Cook. Steve Jobs did not invent the Apple computer. Steve Wozniak did. Steve Wozniak is still living. Nobody says Steve Wozniak. Everybody says Steve Jobs. My question is, why? Here's why. Because Steve Wozniak was the implementer that created the Apple, but he attached himself to an Imagineer named Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs could see the impact of what Steve Wozniak created. Steve Jobs was the embodiment of Apple. I'm not saying he was a I'm not saying he was a good person, but he definitely was a great person. He created stuff that serves us in, like I got my iPad and my iPhones and my MacBook Pros and my Apple Watch and so did many of you. Why? Because he created stuff that he knew we needed before we even knew we needed it. Why? Because he spent so much time in his imagination. He made Apple valuable. Steve Jobs, he's the first person who took over multiple industries and just changed the way those industries work. He took over the computer industry, changed how it worked. He introduced the graphic user interface. We call the point and click, drag and drop. Steve Jobs introduced that to the world. He didn't invent it. You know who invented it? Anybody know who invented it? No, not Steve Wozniak. Xerox Corporation invented the mouse and the graphic user interface. Xerox created it, but they didn't know what they created. Steve Jobs was such an Imagineer, he could see what you had even when you couldn't see what you had. Just like Bill Gates saw with that software developer who created the down and dirty disk operating system that later became Microsoft DOS, he saw what that person created. Okay. He could see the value. The other person could only see the thing, the invention. Okay. So, you have to change how your mind thinks. But that's not enough. You have to change how your mouth talks. Here's what the scripture says. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth. Thou shalt also declare a thing, and it shall be established where? Unto thee. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So what am I saying? I'm saying you don't, like people say, oh, you speak this into existence. No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't. I don't care. I don't care which guru says it. I don't care which pastor says it. Anybody who says that, they're all wrong. Because the only person who speaks things into existence is God. But here's what we have the ability to do. We have the ability to speak faith into a space in our lives where doubt used to exist, so that we can take an action in faith that we could not take in doubt. And that's why it's so important to change how your mouth talks. People ask me how I'm doing. I don't say, I'm above the dirt. Such a ridiculous answer. I'm above the dirt. How do you know that's better? When was the last time you spent some time below the dirt? How are you doing? Fine. What is that? Fine. What is that? Not too bad under the circumstances. Not too bad. So it's bad, but not too bad. Under the circumstances. Why are you under there? You say, it doesn't matter. Okay. If you think it doesn't matter, then I'm going to let you keep believing that. But here's what I know. All words matter. How do I know all words matter? Because matter is made of words. In fact, there's a scripture that says, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. No, it's the glory of God to conceal a thing, but it's the honor of kings to search out a matter. Now, in the English translation of that, I think it's Proverbs 27:2. I think that's where it's at. In the English translation of that, it uses the word thing and the word matter. But in the Hebrew, it uses the same word for both. And the Hebrew word is the word dabar. That is the word for thing. The word for thing is dabar. Isn't that fascinating? You say, why is that fascinating? Because the word dabar also means to speak. So yes, words matter. Because words are matter. And matter are words. Okay, you got it. So, change how your mouth how your mouth talks. Do you talk about opportunities or do you talk about obstacles? When you're talking most of the time to most of the people you talk to, are you talking about what's missing or are you talking about what's there? Because your words are causing you and the people that you're talking to focus either on the obstacle or the opportunity. That's really fascinating. So, your ability to see the abundance around you oftentimes is the direct result of your willingness to say the abundance that's all around you. Remember, we talked about, in one of our Bible studies a long time ago, we talked about why the serpent changed what God said when he talked to Eve. Yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Why did he say that? Because Satan understood that words are not just a communication device, they are also the window through which we see the world. And Satan understood and still understands that words are not just a communication device. But see, he also realized that because of that, when you change what you say, it changes what you see. Do you realize if God calls something one thing and you call it something else, then you are actually in disagreement with God about what you see when you look at that thing. Is what I'm saying making sense? So God calls it drunkenness. You call it alcoholism and call it a disease. God calls it an iniquity. So one of y'all is wrong. Right? You call it an affair. God calls it adultery. And adultery is an abomination, and in the Old Testament was punishable by being stoned to death because you broke a covenant that you made before God and man. We call it an affair. Sounds like a party. Maybe I should bring flowers and a gift. But when you change and call it an affair, that doesn't sound as bad as adultery. As badly, it doesn't sound as bad as you broke the covenant that you made with your lifetime covenant partner. And if your spouse can't trust you, how could I possibly trust you? But we call it an affair. God calls sodomy an abomination. We call it being gay. If you change the terminology, it changes how you feel about it. You know what the word gay is? It's a marketing campaign. That's all it was. It's a marketing campaign that started back in the 70s and then worked its way up till everybody accepted it. I refuse to refer, I personally, and I don't hate people who are homosexuals, but I refuse to refer to them as gay. I'm not going to do that. Sodomites, sure. Homosexuals, sure. No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not attempting to be mean. I'm not going to go along to get along so people won't be offended. It is what it is. Either God's right or God's wrong. Okay, if he's wrong, we might as well just go ahead and do something different anyway. Okay, anyway. And I know there are people on YouTube where I'm going to get some negative comments on that. But I don't do this for comments. My responsibility is to tell the truth when I'm in front of the camera and help as many people as I can. And anyway. So, but change how you talk when it comes to opportunities and obstacles. Change how you talk when it comes to oppression and optimism. Some people, the only thing they want to talk about is who has done them wrong. And what's wrong with the world. And if somebody would just fix the world, I could make it. Somebody would just come along and fix the man's world. As a woman, you would finally be able to make it. Somebody would just come along and undo the misogynistic, what's the other thing they call it? Toxic masculinity environment. Then as a woman, you could finally win. If somebody would come along and fix like the white man's world, then as a black man, I'll finally be able to make it. I'm not saying that there's no oppression in the world. I'm just saying the oppression that exists in the world, you don't have to subject yourself to it. Okay, so when my wife and I took our business trip for our 40th anniversary for 30 days, and we went around the world. It was great. One of the places, what happened? My wife's my business partner. Y'all didn't know? Okay, so when we took our business trip, one of the places we went was Cape Town. It's one of the most fascinating places I've ever been. So we went to Robben Island. We went to the prison where Nelson Mandela served 17 of his 26 or 27 years in prison. Okay? Now, he was put in prison as a political prisoner by a corrupt government. But he believed in his vision so much that he did not allow the oppression of his enemies to stop him from having optimism that he could change his country and by doing change the world. I saw the cell that he slept in was maybe only 3/4 at the most as big as this stage that I'm standing on. Maybe 3/4 as big as this stage. He had a little mat on the floor. The windows didn't have glass, and in the wintertime it got cold. They would give you a blanket that wasn't much thicker than a sheet. And he was there for 17 years. And he wrote a book while he was in prison and then smuggled it out. And it got into the hands of literally millions and millions of people. And that changed apartheid in South Africa. A man did that from prison. And then he gets out of prison and becomes the president of the country. Why? Because he was more focused on optimism than he was on obstacles. Now, I get it. I'm not saying there's no oppression. But he was not focused on the oppression, even though he was a victim of the oppression. He was so focused on his mission. I'm going to make my country a better place to live for my countrymen. And that is what my life is going to be about. Prison or no prison. Blanket or no blanket. Windows or no windows. This is what my life is going to be about. And without excuse, he changed the landscape of that entire country forever from prison. Now, I get it. You got it bad. Probably not that bad. Just saying. Okay. And you change how you talk about your obligations versus your options. See, some people only see how much they owe in life. I can't get ahead because I don't have this and I don't have that and I don't have this and I got to pay this and I got to pay that and so what happens is because I really wish that that you could understand that there's more than enough for everybody to have more than enough and there'd still be more than enough left over. You don't have to gather and hoard and stack and pile for yourself because there's not going to be enough one day. You don't have to do that. You can live a life where you're a blessing, where you're blessed to be a blessing, and your cup can run over. But you have to first believe that you can live that life. Because if you don't believe that you can live that life, you'll never step into that life in the first place. Some of you in this room and watching me on the YouTube sphere, some of you believe that that kind of life is only for other people. Can I get a witness? Like in your heart of hearts. I ain't talking about like going to service. Yeah, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Yeah, okay. But in your heart of hearts, you don't even take the action steps today because you don't believe you're on your way. Those are just words you use. Okay. I saw a video. I don't have time. Never mind. I don't have time. So you got to change how your mind thinks. You got to change how your mouth talks. By the way, when you change how your mouth talks, here's what happens. That combines both communication and unification together because the way you talk tells people that it's a good idea to partner with you or not. It's a good idea to joint venture with you or not. It's a good idea to affiliate with you or not. It's a good idea to have an affinity with you or not. How you talk either attracts people to you or repels people from you. So you might want to become hyper-intentional about how you use your mouth to talk. And then you have to change how you manage your time. So that's the last one I'm going to get to, change how you manage your time. This is a really cool clock that I want to show you. I'm going to skip that one. See, opportunities versus obstacles. Okay, I skipped that one. This right here, this is the whole thing. You got to change how you use your yearning time. You know what most people use their yearning time for? Let me see. I can find a better color than that. Red, that's good. You change how you use your yearning time. What's your yearning time? Your yearning time is the time that you spend thinking about the way you'd like your life to look if it could look any way you desired it to look. That's your yearning time. So, right now, it's the end of the year. I'm looking for some real estate so that I can close on before the end of the year. I'm looking for maybe $1 million house here in Tampa, or $1.5 million house, or $2 million house, maybe at least 10,000 square foot office space that I can turn into a training center, maybe a church that's 10,000 square feet that the church wants to sell, maybe a specialty warehouse of some kind that I could utilize for my own special purposes, maybe an apartment building. But the person who wants to sell that right here in Tampa, or relatively close to Tampa, in the Tampa Bay area, they're willing to do some kind of creative finance so we can close this on this year, and then I can either refi with traditional financing next year, or refinance in 5 years, 7 years, or they can be the bank and take back the paper and they can get all the interest that I would pay to the bank who's going to finance it anyway. I'm happy to do any of that, right? So if you're watching right now and you know somebody has real estate like that, for sale, by all means, contact our company. Send an email to connect@myrongolden.com. I'm going to buy some real estate this year. Some more real estate, right? Okay, so do you see what I just did there? Now, I just talked about the thing that, how many people will see this? In the first 24 hours, at least 25,000. Somebody might know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, right? Okay, so you change how you manage your time. I change how I manage my earning time. Like, I'm thinking now in terms of, okay, how can we 10x what we're doing, what we did this year? How can we 100x what we did this year? Like, I'm not asking those questions from the standpoint that I want to beat myself up if I don't do it. I'm asking myself those questions so that when I step into 2026, I am already taking the activities that are necessary to 10x or 100x where we are in our business. And boy, do I have some good ideas. And we are implementing them like all guns ablazing. Okay, so you change your earning time. The time you spend imagining, clarifying, and strategizing your ideal life. Change how you spend that time. Use some of that time for imagining what it's going to look like. Use some of that time for clarifying that imagination. Okay, this is specifically like what I want it to look like, what I want it to feel like, what products I want to have in my product suite, what level of revenue generation I'd like to generate, like what industry I want to be working in, who are the people that I desire to serve. All of that stuff, like let that be a part of your yearning time. Okay, your learning time. This is the time you spend reading, listening, and thinking. Like, your learning time is going to determine your earning, how much money you make in your earning time, your learning time. Because, like, how much money you earn is going to be based on the difference between what you know and what you haven't learned and implemented yet, right? You are like one skill set away. You're one great idea well executed away. Like one. Okay, for some of you two. Others, maybe three. But no more than three. And here's what's good about three. We can all remember three things and we can all count to three. Right? So you change how you use your learning time. Like, I listen to audiobooks, but I also read books. Then I also journal from the things that I learn, and I take notes on my own thoughts when I'm reading and listening and learning. I don't just write down what somebody else said. I write down what I thought of as a result of what they said. That's how I use my learning time. And I'm always looking for ways to make what I do better. Juwan came in my office this morning, like, dude, I got this whole new workflow. I'll be able to create in the next week more outlines and videos for my YouTube content that I've ever done in 3 months before because of my new workflow. He's like, okay, what is it? I said, I don't have it fully flushed out yet, but I got it, like, I've been doing it and it's working like really, 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 really good. Right? And so, because like one of the most challenging things about having a YouTube channel where you're constantly uploading content is, okay, now what am I going to talk about? Now what am I going to talk about? I got more stuff to talk about now than I have time to talk about. I've got literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ideas of content that I can teach that would be great for people to learn and impact their lives in a great way. So, your learning time, and then your earning time. What are your money-making go home today and take inventory. What are the things I do to make money? Is it webinars? Right now it could be just your job, right? And there's nothing wrong with making money from a job. In fact, I recommend that most people who want to be entrepreneurs don't quit your job and then go start a business. Start a business while you have your job, even if you don't like your job. In fact, especially if you don't like your job, because nothing will inspire you to build a business that you love like working at a job that you hate. But if you quit, now all of a sudden you got all this pressure. Now you have to make it work, and you have to make it work now. And so now when you talk to people, you have commission breath, which means you're focused on what you're going to get if they say yes instead of what they're going to get if they say yes. And now they don't say yes because they can tell you're talking to them for you instead of talking to them for them. Is it a webinar? Is it like, do you want to sell ebooks? Is it e-commerce? Is it like e-com? Or is it flipping stuff on Facebook Marketplace? Is it flipping? Is it affiliate marketing? Like, are you selling somebody else's stuff? Do you know you can become an affiliate? We've got offers. If you become an affiliate of mine and you sell Trash Man to Cash Man, you didn't even have to write the book, but I'll give you half the money. You didn't do half the work. I'll give you half the money. Hey, if you sell through your affiliate link, Boss Moves book, and you promote it, by the way, we know these sell. Like, I was speaking at a church in Arizona last week. We sold a bunch, like $12,000 worth of books. So if you are an affiliate and you become an affiliate, you sell my books, you promote it through your affiliate link, I'll give you half the money. How cool is that? I did all the work. Well, I built the website. I did all that. All you got to do is say, hey, go buy this book. It was really great. We have the Make More Offers Challenge coming up. If you promote the Make More Offers Challenge, somebody buys a VIP ticket from your link, you get half of that money, $148.50. I literally have affiliates who've made hundreds of thousands of dollars promoting my stuff for me. But guess what? Because they made, by the way, for those of you who don't know what affiliate marketing is, it's when you sell somebody else's stuff and they pay you a part of the profits, or they pay you a part of the sale price. I usually pay 50% affiliate commissions on my products that are commissionable. Well, that's significant. So, what if you don't have an offer, though? All of your money-making time is spent using your muscles over time. But what if you figured out a different way to make money in addition to the ways that you already have? Here's what would happen. Your life would change drastically. So if you do these three things, change how you use your mind to think, change how you use your mouth to talk, and change how you manage your time. It'll change your life for the rest of your life if you'll let it. Thanks for watching. My Make More Offers Challenge starts in 7 minutes, so I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm out of here, just like Vladimir. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.